Hey guys, it's Thursday evening. I'm Texas Garden Guy, and this is the Garden Party. This is the Garden Party, and we want a garden party with you. We talk about the plants we grow and some things you might not know. The Garden Party. Go ahead, Phil, introduce yourself.
What up, everybody? It's Phil's Figs, your favorite plant parent as well as regular parent. When I do my best to juggle parenting and plants, back on the podcast.
Not only is Phil the fig daddy tonight, he is the soil daddy. He sent me a video. How many yards of compost did you get delivered today?
10 cubic yards.
I could see the tarp and the truck backing up into his front yard, and I was like, if my HOA would allow me to do that, I would get that once or twice a year. It would make my life so much easier because I hate bagging in soil so much.
Shout out to Wilmington Compost Company for hooking me up.
Absolutely, dude. We'll get into that. We'll get into bag compost versus deliver, and we got a very special first-time guest. Is it Kim or Kimberly? How do you prefer it?
I prefer Kimberly.
Kimberly, okay.
Yes.
Kimberly. Kimberly Mayer, and she is actually my county ag extension agent. She works for me. I'm Missouri County.
That's right.
So
I serve Destin.
I was like, it's probably a good idea that I make really good friends with my ag extension agent. But since so many of my listeners are from the Houston area and my area here in Missouri County, I figured we need to get her on and see what she's got growing on right now.
Yay! Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. Like Destin said, I'm your Brazoria County horticulture agent. Still fairly new. Been at this job for a little over a year and a half. But I'm excited to be here and participate. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. I think you originally, the Master Gardeners have reached out to me about doing a class. And then I had commented on the Junior Master Gardeners classes. You posted the pictures. They look like so much fun.
It really is. I am that program is really near and dear to my heart. So my background is education. I was an elementary school teacher, and so being able to teach adults about gardening and all things horticulture is one thing. I felt like in Brazoria County we were doing a really great job of that. But one of my goals was to be able to reach the youth of Brazoria County with gardening, and the Junior Master Gardener program is the way to do that. We are actually really blessed to have an amazing partnership with Harvest for the Hungry. Yes. If you're not from Brazoria County, Harvest for the Hungry is a nonprofit organization in Freeport, so still in Brazoria County. They are doing phenomenal things for people that want to learn about gardening and farming and beginning that whole journey, as well as providing food for those that may face food insecurity. So yes. Phenomenal partnership that we have with them. So we're able to host those Junior Master Gardener classes out at Harvest for the Hungry. And teach these kids a little bit of everything. That curriculum is pretty intensive. It's several classes. It's going to take us a little over a year to get it all done. But once the kids are through with that program, it's kind of similar to the Master Gardener program. We certify them as a Junior Master Gardener. We give them a little certificate and so forth. But we're able to have fun, interactive lessons there at Harvest for the Hungry, and because Harvest for the Hungry is a nonprofit and able to receive grants and funding, they have built a phenomenal children's garden behind their education building, and so we're out there the first and third Saturday of the month at 9:30. It's completely free. It's open to everybody. And it's a really great way for us to reach kiddos in Brazoria County and teach them a little gardening tip.
Absolutely. Well, if y'all are interested in seeing what Harvest the Hungry looks like, I did a farm tour probably 2 years ago or so. This is an awesome place, Phil. They got a giant lake where they've got it stocked, so you can go out there and fish and like fish
Oh,
and do whatever you want. And when I went out there, they weren't building the big house yet. They just had the red barn, but they had I don't know if they still have this or not, but they have like an indoor honey beehive where you can actually see the hives behind like plexiglass or whatever, and they come in through a tube in the side of the building.
oh, that's really
It
cool.
really, yeah, it really is cool. The kids love it. So yeah, they've got, I think you call it an apiary. Is that
Mhm.
the right
Yes.
term?
Hmm.
They've
Yes.
also got chickens. They have an orchard with, I think they've got apple trees. They may have added onto it since then. They've got greenhouses. They have row gardening, the children's garden that I talked about, big old compost pile. And like Destin said, that they're I think it's like a 20-acre
It's huge.
pond lake that's stocked with fish. So they're able to, have people come in fish. They sell the honey that the bees make. They donate and give away the
Yes,
produce that they grow. So it's a phenomenal organization. We're glad to partner with them.
That's
absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
neat place.
and the guy who runs it, I forget his name.
David Wang.
Yes, and
Yes.
he's a when I met him, he's a doctor at the VA hospital, which
Yes.
is really awesome, and he's a pastor as well.
Yes.
And I was like, that's and
Yes.
I don't know where he finds the time.
I don't either. I don't either. It's crazy. And he's got two beautiful little girls, and I believe they have another one on the way. If I
Oh, nice.
so yeah, where he finds I don't know where he finds time to
Yeah.
to sleep, much less run all these other
Well,
other businesses.
that's what I asked him. He was giving me a tour on the little Kubota driving on the property, and he was showing me all the trees. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm a pastor. I'm a doctor." And I'm like, "And you run this like huge
Yes.
like farm? It's insane." So
Yes.
if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life though. So I mean,
Yes.
That
He
sounds
does.
like he lives very intentionally. Like everything
yes,
Yes.
he does full heartedly.
Yes,
yes,
definitely. Now, they do have, I think, a full-time, I guess what you would call farmer out there that, does a little bit of the legwork, and then uh, Risha Broom and is the one that kind of runs the education building and the indoor
Yeah.
classroom and things like that. So he does have a little bit of help, but
it's mostly
overall,
master gardeners though, right? And like the Boy Scout groups and stuff like that, right?
yes, they have their finger on the pulse of Brazoria County, and they, the in Brazoria County, of course, we have all the different plants like Dow and Olin and so forth. But so all those big organizations come
Yeah.
and volunteer their time out there. Whether it's and they do the tough stuff. They're pulling weeds and putting together raised beds, and she had several different organizations construct that children's garden out there because it was a lot of work. So they definitely are not lacking in volunteers. That's for sure.
No, that's awesome, guys. If you're watching on Facebook right now, feel free to drop any gardening question, fig question. I had a lot of people. I've been posting a lot of tomato videos right now. They're from last year, and people are thinking that I'm already putting tomatoes in the ground. And I'm trying to tell them like, no, I'm just trying to give y'all tips and get y'all ready for spring. But people are like coming at me, and since we're talking about master gardeners and everything, I have always been I've always I've had kind of I don't know the run-ins with master gardeners sometimes they're a little standoffish because I don't me personally I don't have any formal education. I'm not a master gardener, and I was looking at the website and I didn't know how like time consuming getting them. Like can you walk us through like what it take like what is a master gardener and what it takes to become one?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So so the Brazoria County Master Gardeners Association is a nonprofit. So they're a volunteer organization. They receive all of their training through AgriLife Extension, and in turn, for all that training that they receive, they volunteer for us, whether it be a junior master gardener program or other educational or outreach type events. Um, and so, for example, what do we have coming up here?
The plant
Uh,
sales on Saturday.
Yes, the veggie seedling sale. So
I'll be there.
they good,
Woohoo!
yay! So they will be there. That's a fundraiser for them, so that they can incur funds to be able to put on additional educational events, which where is really what AgriLife Extension is all about. Is extending our knowledge, extending the University of Texas A&M, bringing the university to the people is really what extension is all about. And so currently right now we actually have our 2024 intern program going full swing. We just completed week 5 of our intern class. And so right now we've got 21 interns. They have to complete 50 hours of continuing education, which we provide to them through our weekly classes. We meet once a week every Thursday from about 8:30 to 3:30. We meet out at our demonstration gardens in Angleton. In addition to those 50 education hours, they also have to have 50 volunteer hours. And so we provide plenty of opportunities
Oh
for them
yeah.
to do that as well. They can work in our demonstration gardens. We have several different gardens throughout the area that they can work in alongside a master gardener. And then we've kind of planned it out pretty well so that when the master gardeners have their fruit and citrus tree sale, we've got interns ready to help us with that tree sale, and they're volunteering. So it's another great way for them to get their hours. Of course, the veggie seedling sale is coming up this Saturday, and then we'll also have a plant sale on March 9th, which is another opportunity for them to help volunteer. So we offer lots of different ways for them to get those hours. Once they have all of that, and we explain all this to them before they sign
Oh
on.
yeah.
It is a time commitment. It's quite a few hours.
Yeah.
Once they become certified, then the following year, in order to stay certified, they need 10 continuing education hours and 20 volunteer hours just to stay certified and make sure they're still interested. So it's
Oh.
a lot, but
Yeah, it sounds like
to me
it's a commitment.
it is a commitment, and I just have to brag on them. The Brazoria County Master Gardeners make my job so easy because part of my job is to oversee them.
Right.
But they are a really great group of dedicated, hardworking people. I couldn't have asked for a better group. Um, everybody has their little niche in their area where they're kind of an expert at. And when you bring all that knowledge together, it makes us, a powerful organization to be able to go out to all these different places in the county and share a little bit about what we know with people. So
No,
I'm proud of them.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I get in the comments sometimes where it's usually not the master gardener people that come at me. It's usually the native plant people that come after me.
Uh-oh.
But I have had a couple interactions with some master gardeners,
Uh-oh.
and well, I mean, I think sometimes like with gardening, I know there's like a curriculum and the way things are taught. I always try to tell people like there's not like 100% like nothing is 100% correct the way it's not going to work 100% for one person the way it works for someone else. It's never going to be the exact way it needs to be. Like there's a lot of ways to play with it. When you're planting tomatoes or peppers. One interaction I had last year, someone was very upset with me for using the tomato cages with tomatoes. They were calling them pepper cages, and they're saying
Oh,
you can't use tomato cages with tomatoes. Those are pepper cages. They don't work. And so that just made me want to use them more, just to prove them wrong, and it's just, I get in situations like that. I got to stay out of the comment section. I really do.
yes, that's probably your best bet. And I guess I could say, from their perspective, what master gardeners are taught is to, when they're answering questions from the public or doing research on something that they're interested in, to not just Google or a random fact or use
Right.
Pinterest or what have you, but really to try and use AgriLife Extension
Yes.
procedures, policies, just because it's scientific, it's research based. AgriLife Extension has been around for 110 years, something like that.
Yeah,
And so we do, we do encourage them to
for
use that
sure.
information, and not just from Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, but
Right.
there are, I'm sure that Phil, you probably, do you have an extension,
We do.
like a land grant university in North Carolina?
Yep. Our extension is out through the Wilmington Arboretum is where their office is here in
Okay.
Wilmington, North Carolina. And it's paired up with North Carolina State University as well. But we have
Oh,
all our
it's
county representatives.
Yeah.
NC State's y'all's land grant university.
And then
Okay,
it's paired up. There's also North Carolina. Um, oh my gosh, I'm going to mess it up. But there's another ag school associated with it as well.
probably
It's a little
the
smaller.
Tar Heels.
But not UNC. UNC's
No,
got its own thing.
that was fascinating to learn about from Kevin with the land grant stuff like that. That's pretty wild. But no, from what you were saying, Kimberly, yeah, I agree with you. Vikram was on the Plant Prophet. He was telling us
Mhm.
rather than going like, and I've been guilty of it too. I've done videos where I've used Wikipedia as a reference, of course. But I've even started to use more educational like EDUs or using more
And you can
for
use
better
Google
information.
Scholar as well. I mean,
That's what
that's
it
what in
was.
graduate school. Yeah, if you use Google Scholar, then you get it's all cited scientific research papers, and so you can narrow
Oh,
it down
that's
that
good to
way.
know. I didn't know that. Yeah, actually, we were talking about this in our class today. Of course, I don't know if y'all were affected by the national outage, but I kind of had to.
Surprisingly, no, it was weird.
No,
Yeah,
okay. I kind of had to wing it today in class, and so we practiced just answering questions as a master gardener would answer, because they're going to get questions,
yes,
from neighbors in the grocery store, at church, and at events, and so it was important to make sure that they understood how to find the answers to those questions that they get asked, and so that I'm going to use that Google Scholar. I'll have to share that with them. But yeah, I encourage them to, add extension or edu into their search, and not
Yeah,
yeah,
just use some
because
random
and
blog.
with Google Scholar too, if not all papers are free, you would have to have a
Oh,
subscription. So if you have any
okay,
hookup through a professor, like I don't know, Vikram, can you get us that
yeah,
publication?
right.
good idea.
And yeah, um, otherwise, I mean, you still have access to the abstract, and I'm only saying this because I
Right.
used Google Scholar a lot in graduate school.
Phil,
But yeah,
Phil's a college educated person like you, unlike me. So whenever you said earlier that we were talking before you came on, Phil, about how many agents they had at their extension, and they actually have a marine agent because we're so close to the water. And I was like, oh, Phil loves that marine stuff. He loves that.
I mean, I do that for work. I work with shellfish sanitation and recreational
Oh,
water
well.
quality here in coastal North Carolina, and so I work
Well,
with a lot
so
of
does
those
does
agencies.
does your area have like a coastal marine agent through extension that you
I
know
don't know
of?
if it's through the extension. It would probably. I think it's housed within our Department of Environmental Quality. So,
Okay.
and within that's Division of Marine Fisheries. And so, like, I'm on that board with my coworkers where we go out and we designate where there's open shellfish harvesting areas for people to consume shellfish. And a lot of my GIS work is to help look at all the environmental waste streams of it.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if there would ever be an opportunity to work with extension, or in that capacity, or I don't know. That's not my
Probably
wheelhouse. So
there's a big push for and this would be within marine fisheries here in coastal North Carolina. And when you mentioned Galveston, I assume that the Gulf has similar barrier island
Yeah.
geomorphologies, but like you would want to see how like natural reefs are made from oyster reefs. You want to see how different coastlines and shelves are made based on the flora and fauna of the coastline, kind of like native species in the woods. And also dune reconstruction. There's a lot of plants that go into managing dunes to prevent coastal erosion. So plants serve a big purpose there.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Is
That's
that
neat.
is that what they say? Stay out of the dunes.
Yeah,
Is that
stay
always
off
a
the dunes
sign?
because because of the erosion for sure. And then there's a lot. I mean, you think of all the root systems of sea oats, and then there's about 5 or 6 other species that all interweave into that dune to help tie it down. And they're excellent buffers from hurricanes, but they also keep the island from moving quite as fast as well.
I always thought it was because there was snakes. My dad used to always tell me there were snakes back there. That's why you
There's a
shouldn't
hundred
go.
down where you guys are, and probably Florida. There's pygmy rattlesnakes down there, so, and they will
Yeah,
mess you up. So
I'm sure they're snakes. It's yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Uh, yeah,
tangential flight. Sorry, but yeah.
you'll probably come if you ever come down to our beach. You'll just look out there and cry, and then you'll be like, yeah, it's you're. Well, I've seen the beaches of North Carolina. They're very pretty. They're very
They're
pretty.
beautiful here. I
Yeah, it's just
love where we are. We have beautiful clear blue water here in Onslow Bay area. So
yeah.
We've got beautiful brown water here.
Very beautiful brown water. We have this super tall bridge going from like not towards Galveston, but from like Freeport, where all the refineries are, into like where it's like a beach area. And when you go to the very top, if you look out really, really far, it's kind of blue.
Kind of.
But
there you
but
go.
but then it's really brown and nasty. So
You have
yeah,
nutrient rich water.
yes, yeah.
Brown is a color too, so yeah.
Yes.
Well, we have a lot of waterways too, like freshwater, that kind of murks it, makes it pretty murky as well. For all the freshwater and
Hmm.
everything coming together. So, yeah. But I'm not a geologist or a aqua conservationist like you, sir. I use a lot of big words.
Sorry.
um,
But thank you for doing that because that is so important, to our seas and
Oh
oceans.
yeah.
So
he's
thank
he
you.
So
he
nice.
he has if anyone wants to find Phil's Figs also has a separate page where he surfs.
Yeah, I'm a big surfer.
Phil's a surfer man, so he's got a separate page where he shows off the bod and everything. Uh, so go find
I
that.
compete in the local longboard circuit here in North Carolina and made it to Eastern, so that was pretty cool of me. And then a few sponsors there, but
You don't think of surfing in North Carolina. I don't, just doesn't make sense. But I wanted to talk to Kimberly brought up strawberries earlier. Do y'all grow strawberries in North Carolina at all? Do y'all grow them
you
there?
know it. Oh
Do,
yeah.
do y'all? Okay. It's got. Does it have to do with like the mountains, like the mountain soil? That sounds dumb, but like the and
It
y'all.
does not. That does not sound dumb at all.
Well, you mentioned like
From a
the
geology.
erosion of like the good soil, like the acidic soil or whatever from the
Or
mountain.
it's just the erosion of soil over time. The fun fact: the Appalachians used to be the tallest mountain range in the world back during the Triassic, Jurassic, like Mesozoic era, and they've slowly been breaking down over time, right? And as mountain ranges break down, they erode over millions and millions of years, and all that nice igneous rock that breaks down over time makes its way to the coast and the plains and the Piedmont region. But the entire state is great for strawberries. We have well draining soil here, and where we are on the coast, it ripens first. And as we go inland, where it gets cooler and cooler climates, as your
Okay.
growing zones get colder, because I'm 8B, and you can work your way all the way up to 6A up in the Appalachians when you hit the border of Tennessee. And you probably, I don't, there might be a 5B up there. It gets cold. They're ski resorts.
So
But the ripening, that's your ripening order.
I'll say
Me and
the
inland.
the later into the year you get, the further you got to go for pick your own strawberries.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Kimberly was talking about a trial they're doing across a couple of counties, right? You said what were the varieties you were talking about? The varieties you were.
So we're doing just a simple variety trial. We're doing Camarosa, Chandler, Ruby June, and Sweet Charlie. And
I've never heard
so
of any of those.
Oh, I
no,
haven't heard of any of those.
Oh, really?
well, good. Maybe my data will come in handy at some point.
There you
But
go.
yes, and
There you go.
so as an extension agent, we are responsible for doing at least 2 demonstration trials per year. And so the strawberries are one of my demonstration trials, and I was able to finagle some of my fellow horticulture agents to join in with me. And so Brazos County, Galveston, Fort Bend, and 2 places in Harris County are all part of this multi-county trial. And so, like I said, it's just a simple variety trial. We've got 3 of each varieties that we've planted. I believe everybody's doing it in the ground, and we're just keeping track of how many berries per plant and weighing them, keeping track of that data, and then hopefully everybody will turn in their data to me, and I'll compile it, and I'll of course, turn that into my bosses, but hopefully also share it at the Strawberry Jamboree that I was talking to Destin about earlier.
Oh, absolutely.
So
No,
it's neat.
is
That's great.
how many plants did everybody? Was there a minimum per trial? Like how many plants in total
Yeah,
did y'all do?
so it's 12. We've got
Okay.
three of each variety. So each demonstration trial has 12 plants, very manageable, very doable. We're like I said, we're doing them in the ground at our demonstration gardens here in Angleton. And actually, my master gardeners were so interested. I have a handful of them who are doing the same thing at home and collecting, growing those strawberries and collecting the data for me as well. So it'll be interesting to see what everybody comes up with and which varieties do best. Now, I will
Yeah.
say that so Destin, you're probably familiar with. Are you friends with? You're probably friends with Tyler Froberg
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Froberg Farms.
They
So
grow about
he,
a million strawberries every
I
year.
was going to say they
yes,
have a million.
Yeah.
yes, compared to my little patch of
I
12.
say you should have
But
gone over there and done a trial in his field.
yes, exactly. But he came and spoke at our strawberry jamboree,
Yeah.
and we actually had strawberry plugs available at that time for pre-order. And so Tyler gets up to speak, and he says, "Well, of those varieties that you've got, we really like Camarosa. And so, which strawberry plug sold
Camarosa.
the most? Camarosa. Yeah, those went quick. So everybody." Everybody really enjoyed listening to Tyler and hear about their pick your own farm and neat place, neat guy.
Oh, absolutely.
I
Yeah,
have questions now.
go ahead, Phil. Go
Oh
ahead.
yeah.
Is that
Go ahead.
cool? Yeah, these different places that I don't know where they are in Texas, that all
It's
got
a
strawberries.
it's just the south part, like kind of
Yeah, the
pretty
Gulf
much
Coast.
all. Yeah, just
Okay,
around
so
Coast of Texas.
south of Houston.
so they all have similar growing conditions, similar soil and weather.
Some are closer to the ocean, and then some of them are a little more further out. And it's all pretty swampy, like not the
Clay,
best.
gumbo
Yeah,
soil.
not the best soil. Not like the best soil.
Because what I
No.
learned about Texas is because it's so big, these places can have drastically
Oh
different
yes,
climates, especially when we have like
absolutely.
Vikram or
Oh, yeah, Lubbock is like a whole nother country, dude. I mean,
Yes,
just from like south of Houston going to
yeah,
north of Houston, you're talking about like the coastal plains to like the piney woods almost already. Like and then
right,
you go west and you're in the hill country. I mean,
right.
yeah,
Houston alone is insane. There's like 4 or 5, 6 microclimates.
yes.
Oh, got it.
So and so I guess so I can share like in Lubbock. We've got Dr. Russ Wallace. He's an agrilife extension researcher who does research on strawberries and strawberry trials in the Lubbock area. He
Mm,
actually came down and spoke at our strawberry jamboree last year, and so it's kind of interesting to hear. And I guess it was surprising to me to know that they could grow strawberries in that Lubbock, that dry area. So, but he's doing it and getting lots
yeah,
of data on it. So it
Yeah.
just goes to show
there
you
you
that
go.
all over Texas you can grow different things depending on where you're at
Depending
and
on the
so
strawberry, maybe too.
yes, the
On the
varieties.
variety.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
the other thing too is like, is this like a are you doing 1 year trials with your data collection? Or are you doing is this year over year as the strawberries get more mature and grow and root?
So no, it'll just be this year. So
Hmm.
technically, in Texas, we grow at least in Brazoria counties. How we take it, we grow them as an annual.
Yeah.
It's just by the first part of May, it's just way too hot for
Uh,
strawberries to do well. So we just grow them as an annual. So yeah, it'll just be kind of a one season type of trial and. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do next, but I'm open to ideas. Maybe.
Well, so I've always heard people talking about leaving the strawberry crowns in the ground. Uh, and I've always just end up pulling them. What I've done over the last couple of years is I've done them in hanging baskets, so I can leave them out in full sun during the spring, and then I put them under my shade cloth almost in hardly any sun or filtered sun in the morning. And then I'll get strawberries up until like July. You
Wow.
know,
Okay.
but you got to keep them well watered and you got to keep them in the shade. But so what is the process if you leave them in the ground? Do you just mulch over them and leave them covered up until next? What is that
I guess that's
process?
Texas specific too, because in the Northeast we don't do anything; they just
You just leave
stay in
them.
the ground. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then when I lived up there, and in North Carolina we keep them as well. But yeah,
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would, I guess you certainly could mulch them. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. If I wonder, do you know what Froberg's does? I think pretty sure they pull them up
If
and
I had to guess, that they do a lot of annuals and determinate varieties. So if I had to guess, they're pulling theirs up. They're getting a lot of bang for their buck, and then they're pulling
yeah,
those things up.
yeah,
Because I mean, the for a lot of people, it's real estate. I mean, you got to think
sure,
about where you got to keep. I mean, they got like what a couple hundred acres out there.
yeah,
Like having just strawberry, strawberry crowns sitting there for 9 months out of
yeah.
the year. I mean, can't do anything with that. So yeah, I don't. I guess there most people probably do use them as an annual. You know,
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go is just to grow them as an annual and start over. I mean, when you have to like pre-order your strawberry plugs like in May
yeah,
to get them, delivered or ready in the first part of October. And really they're about a dollar a piece, a dollar per
it's not
plug
bad.
ish,
you're not breaking the bank. Yeah,
yeah,
No.
so it's almost kind of just where I think worth your money, worth your time, just to pull them up and use that valuable space for something else.
So are you in charge of the master gardeners, or do you just teach the classes and coordinate stuff, or how does that work?
Yes, yes to all of the above.
Yes.
So, my job as the horticulture agent is to oversee and advise the master gardeners. Um, so, whether it be, the intern class, I don't teach every single class, but I do kind of squeeze in a couple classes here and there.
Yeah.
And then it's also my responsibility to provide quality educational programming for the residents of Brazoria County. So, for example, there's kind of this saying with extension that the thing that we get the most calls and emails about are trees, turf, and tomatoes. I don't
That's.
know if
Yep. I know
Vikram
that.
mentioned that or not, but that's
Oh
kind of the
yeah.
big three. And so this year, I've got a series of 6 different classes that teach you. There's 2 different classes on trees, 2 different ones on tomatoes, and 2 different classes on turf. And so that's just kind of my job, is to bring those programs to the public, offer them to the public. Again, sometimes I teach them. Sometimes I've got a master gardener who's got advanced training in a particular field, and they'll
Okay.
teach it. And then we also have extension specialists who can sometimes come down in person and teach the class. We can do it virtually as well. So
Oh, that's not
that's
bad.
kind of that's kind of my wheelhouse.
I'm getting some questions in here. Someone was asking about the strawberries and hanging baskets. I kind of answered that one. Rhonda Daigle, not having luck growing vegetables from seed. Any tips? I guess we can all give a tip, for growing your seeds. I'll let you go first, Kimberly, and give like one tip for growing them from seed.
So I guess it's hard for me. Is she? I guess it's hard to know. She's not specifically from Brazoria County. Do we
This could
know?
be
Hard to tell
anybody.
from anybody.
I
Um,
I don't know.
you know what? Everybody is probably going to have their own great tip. I would say just don't give up. Keep trying.
Yeah.
Failure is part of it. Everybody has their own certain way of doing things. She can definitely reach out to her local county extension agent and ask as well. But I would say just keep trying. Don't give up. You may have a seed tray that just doesn't germinate for you for whatever
yeah.
reason. Try again. I know that. Uh, I hear Skip Richter from Garden Line talking a bunch, and he says, nobody has a brown thumb. They
That's
have an
not true.
uninformed. They have an
That's not true.
they just have an
That's not.
uninformed thumb. And so, reach out to your county extension agent. Go on to, at least if they're in Texas, you can go on to aggiehorticulture.com. There are a ton of publications on
Oh, she's in
vegetables.
spring. She's in spring.
Oh, perfect. So if that's still in Harris County, So yeah, she's close. So she can definitely go on to Aggie Horticulture. There's a fruit and nut resources page there,
Okay.
and they have got everything from tomatoes to peppers to onions, you name it. And she can download that publication and give her lots of great information. So don't give up.
Yeah, well, and to that, a lot of people will plant just one seed. Like I never, if I want, if I want like, two early girl tomatoes, I am not planting two early girl tomato seeds. I'm planting a whole row of them, like 12, 10 to 12, hoping that at least two, and I'll probably pick the two best ones and give the rest to my dad or my grandpa or whatever, So that's definitely a factor. Like you were saying, don't give up and don't just just like if you do a propagation like a fig propagation, Phil, are
Hmm.
you ever
Oh
just
my
doing
gosh.
one propagation? No, dude, you're doing like 50 of them to make it worth your time. Like it's
Right. I think
yeah,
it's a numbers game. All seed starting propagation, just it's a numbers game, statistics. If you're new at it, be nice to yourself. Kindness goes a long
oh yeah,
way, and
yeah,
you'll get back on that horse if it doesn't germinate. And different things germinate at different times. Like just
100%.
thinking about peppers
Oh my god.
versus basil versus tomatoes, um, and even like zucchinis. And they like the one piece of advice I would say: keep it wet and heat mat. If you can get a heat mat, that'll help you tons,
That
for
has
sure.
been a game changer for me this year. Well, so my number one recommendation is if you have a greenhouse or somewhere with natural sun and natural heat, that is your game changer. So
Hmm. Yeah.
I had a bunch of seeds started out in the garage under my grow lights. They're doing good. I kind of was running out of room in the garage and I got tired of running the lamps. So I took a bunch of them outside that I had freshly sowed, and being in the greenhouse is warm right now. It is real warm, and that natural sun. Nothing is better than natural sun, like natural
Oh yeah.
sunlight. People talk to me. I've had people talk to me like in the summer, like, "Hey, what can I do with my grow lights?" I'm like, "Dude, take all your plants outside and put them in the full sun. Like it'll germinate your seeds, it'll get them growing, but nothing's better than the real thing." So, but the heat mats, if you have to, they have been a game changer this year with a lot of really. I got desert roses right now, and they germinated super fast with that with the heat mats.
And I took Ashley Thompson, the Mocha gardener. I took her advice and I set my heat mat to
Yes.
83. 83
Well,
degrees has been a nice Goldilocks zone.
yes, yes. And so and this is the other thing she said that worked really well for me, got my tomatoes going. So she took the heat mat, and then the bottom watering tray, she filled it with water and then put the seed starts in there. And so it's like a little jacuzzi. It's like a little jacuzzi. You don't want to leave in there for too long, like maybe a day, because you'll start to have like fungal issues, like maybe like rotate your trays, like this one's going to get water, but that really, the warm water really helped them germinate fast too. Yeah. Um, Heat mats sure speed up peppers. Oh, yeah. So, uh, Kimberly. So last week we talked to Phil, and he does a lot of he Phil's figs, so he does a lot of fig
Yeah.
propagations. And the one thing, like when I'm doing a fig propagation video or any kind of propagation video, is to tell him, hey, make sure the cutting goes in right side up, because the leaves are not going to grow underground. Well, Phil was doing a lot of cuttings one day, and he put in a fig cutting upside down. And what happened, Phil?
Some of us have busy lives, but I did plant one upside down, and guess what started growing upside down?
The fig
But
grew
it,
upside down.
it started to wrap around. Bad news, it died, and because
Oh
the
man.
cap didn't put out any roots, and I looked at it, I was like, oh, there's no roots here.
Oh.
Um, so I'm bummed. But it's a Smith fig. I've always had a little frustration with Smith fig cut-ins. They can be a little bit of a diva to work with, but
Yeah. Yeah,
that
that,
was
that
frustrating.
that was the question. Hey Phil, how's the upside down fig growing?
Oh.
Yeah, I saw it and I went to respond, and it put me into the live feed here. But yeah, I put a sad emoji. It's toast. My plan is to plant another one upside down, and we're going to make this work.
You should
There
do
you
it.
go.
You should grow in a
Don't
hanging
give up.
basket. Hey,
I'm going to grow
Kimberly,
in a hanging basket.
you might be the right person to facilitate this. Somebody recommended that we do like a Houston Fig Fest, like in October, like Figtoberfest. And since you have access,
To a venue.
we could run it around like propagating figs, and like that's usually a time when you're getting quite a bit of ripe figs as well. And my buddy, our buddy, the fig hunter in
Mhm.
California, does the Fig Fest in the fall, and they like do taste testing where people bring in their figs and like judge the best fig. So Phil wants to come in October would
Which
be a
is, and
good.
this is like really important because figs can have a range of flavors, right?
Yeah.
And so it's one of the biggest sleeper fruits in, that known to, despite being through all generations and societies. But yes, I'm pitching myself right now.
I love that idea. Absolutely, absolutely. Let's do it.
Cool.
In fact, so Destin and I were talking just briefly before we started. So the Galveston County horticulture agent Stephen Brugerhoff is a big fig guy, so we can definitely get him involved. And if we want to, make it, really big countywide, we can definitely
Oh yeah.
talk to the other horticulture agents in Fort Bend County and Harris County as well. I love that idea. I'm all about that. That is what that's part of my job is to teach
Yeah.
people about this. So if we can bring the people together to make it happen, absolutely, I love
I've
it.
Yay.
I've got a bunch of requests. So I've been telling everybody, and you probably get a million calls every time it freezes.
Yes.
Hey, my lemon tree, I left it out during the freeze, and all the leaves fell off, and it's growing back, but it's growing back real low. And you just gotta tell them like that's trifoliate. Your citrus is dead. And no, it's not. I mean, it's not dead. I mean, you could illegally graft another piece on for something else, but you can't. Uh, so that's why I've been kind of telling people, hey, let's get into pomegranates, let's get into figs, let's get into apples, some of the stuff that grows in the cold, that can handle the freeze, can handle the drought. Last year it didn't rain for 3 months here in like our area. And the figs kept producing, couldn't stop the figs from producing. So I mean, that has been like me and Phil. I
We
called
can
you
talk
Fig.
figs all day.
Dude, we're both. He's the Johnny Appleseed of figs in North Carolina. We got one in California. He's crazy. And then and the fig hunter is a nut job. We love him, but he's nuts. But yeah, no, we'll do an email chain. We'll get everything going
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
We'll
so
figure it out.
well, shut
I
up.
had to. I had to. Thanks, guys. I'm leaving now. I'll see you later.
Absolutely. No, that sounds like a really good time. We could figure that out. Yeah. So what do y'all? I know y'all have the veggie sale this weekend. What else? What all do y'all have going on, like with the Master Gardener and the the Missouri County Horticultural Extension? What all do you have going on?
I know it's a
It's a
mouthful, isn't it?
mouthful.
Yes, I get it. I totally get it. Yeah, so this coming Saturday, of course, we have the veggie seedling sale. Our master gardeners have been busy, yeah, germinating seeds. I believe they have like 18 or 1900 different seedlings. We've got tomatoes, peppers, herbs, bluebonnets that we're excited about.
Nice.
Phil, if you probably know this already, but yeah, bluebonnets are the state flower of Texas, and so we
Dude,
get a little excited about bluebonnets
Oh.
around here.
well, so here's something I saw. Despite people think I do like native plants, and I do plant native plants in my house. And one of the native people I found or follow was talking about blue bonnets. You start from seed. Of course, you got to stratify them to get them to germinate. I planted seeds like in or like April one year, hoping they would come, and like one or two sprouted. But you got to put them in the freezer, or you got to leave them out, or you got to plant them in the fall. But they were saying that bluebonnets don't always flower the year you plant them. They were saying that a lot of times if you plant them, you want to plant new seeds every year so that it'd be like a succession because they don't always bloom that next year, the following year.
Right, right. Yeah. The fall is the best time to plant any wildflowers. Basically, you'll any day now you'll start to see them along the right of ways.
Yeah,
But yeah, when I think that some of the key points when you're trying to sow bluebonnet seeds is one. I think you mentioned it. They need a little bit of stratification, but they also need to be scarified as well.
Yes.
A lot of people, take like, oh gosh,
Usually like a nail file or like something like
nail
that.
file or sandpaper. I'm sorry, couldn't
Yeah.
couldn't think of the word sandpaper. Some people even use like an acid to kind of soften that seed and crack that seed
Really?
open. They're blue bonnets, so they're Texas tough. But that's really
Wow.
important. And then getting like really good seed to soil contact when you're kind of scattering those seeds out is important. Um, but yeah, they should come back for you each year. But definitely continue to plant them as well so that you can have that, you can take that picture of yourself in the field of
Every year.
bonnets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
memorialize it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's even, isn't there like a part of the Texas government that's in charge of like making sure the bluebonnet seeds are planted like on
So
along the highways?
yeah, so TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation, has a whole seeding program. I've talked about this, but it's been a little while ago. But yeah, they basically seed along the right of ways, not just blue bonnets, but Indian blankets,
Coneflowers and
flowers,
yeah.
things like that, all along the right of ways up and down. There's definitely some in Brazoria County, but definitely the Brazos and other counties. And then trying to think where that website is. There's a website out there that you can probably Google pretty easily, but it gives you like a driving tour through different parts of the state that tend to always have
Oh, really?
wildflowers going. Like there's the Coastal Bend area has a like I guess a map showing you the different routes that you can take so that you get the best scenery as you're driving through and different parts of the state. I think they even offer like fun restaurants and things along the way as well. But
Oh, that's
that's kind of
cool.
a neat thing. It's kind of a neat day trip to do. Look at the
Cool.
wildflowers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a guy up by my in-laws house up in like Magnolia, Plantersville area, and his whole field every year is covered in bluebonnets. So what he does is he puts a sign up says, "Hey, park here, don't drive in, and you're feel free to go take as many pictures as you want. Just don't, drive in and
Yeah.
damage anything, and don't come to the house." I guess he was getting a lot of people knocking on his door
I'm
saying, "Hey,
sure.
can I take pictures out here in these bluebonnets in your field?"
Yes, I'm sure. I mean, they are beautiful. I mean, even as you're going 70 miles an hour during driving down the highway, it's just so beautiful. Driving past them and seeing all the colors, it's neat. Yeah,
And I
enjoy
think
it.
I think that the bluebonnet's the only lupine native to Texas as well. I think the lupines are usually native to like more mountainous regions like that, and it's a combination of a bunch of different varieties. But I did some research. I was doing a video, and I probably Googled it and should looked at a correct reference website. But it was saying like it was a combination of a bunch of different flowers, and it turned out they were like all the same species. There's just different varieties, and so there's different varieties throughout the state of Texas,
Yeah,
but they're all
Oh.
yeah,
They're all the
yeah.
same
So
species. They're like subspecies. They're not even. They're just like the
correct.
different breeds.
yeah,
Yes.
and so actually, Texas A&M does some research and breeding with those, and so there are some very highly coveted maroon bluebonnets
I heard
for
about
Texas
this.
A&M. I have yet to get my hands on them, but my fingers are crossed. One day I will come across them, and then uh,
Phil, you're from North Carolina, so you don't know this, but like people who go to A&M down here in Texas, like they get maroon cars, they get maroon hey dudes, like
They get
it
maroon blue bonnets.
oh
Yeah.
dude, it's so bad, man. It's
yes,
so bad.
yes, I probably should have said howdy when I first
Yeah,
got on
I
because that's
assumed.
another Texas, Texas A&M tradition.
Yeah.
Say howdy to everybody,
Oh.
howdy hospitality. So if I missed it, howdy.
Did you graduate from A&M? Because I found out not everybody who works for A&M went to A&M. I found that out the weird way.
Yeah, so I graduated from Texas A&M University in Kingsville.
Okay.
So we actually lived in the Rio Grande Valley before we moved up here to Brazoria County. So Kingsville was it for me. So
Gotcha.
Yes, technically, yes.
Yeah, Phil Kingsville is is named after the King Ranch, and I did some I do electrical work when I'm not growing in the garden, and so I spent some times down there. I drove past the A&M Kingsville, and it was really nice, and it's really nice campus.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
it's a great campus, although not to bash Kingsville, but there is not much to do in that. It's not your typical college town, I will say that. That's all I'll
No.
say.
Oh, I don't know that I want. I liked A&M because I got to go see Kevin, but trying to park at the
Oh, yeah.
university was a nightmare. Like
Yeah.
Phil, I pulled into the parking lot and there's like numbers on. And I'm like, okay, where do I pay? And I found a campus security guard. I was like, hey man, I don't go to school here. I'm not a professor. I was like, where do I park? And he goes, well, you got to park all the way over there and walk. I was like, it's like 300 yards. Like it was really, really far, like crossing like
Oh
five, six
no.
streets. And I was like, dude, this is crazy. And luckily, Kevin, I called him and he's like, oh, I got a reserved guest spot for you. And I was like, this is nuts. And
Jeez.
I saw all the kids riding around on scooters and stuff, and I was like, that makes sense because
Right.
I bet they charge them for parking passes, dude. They
Oh,
oh my
everybody gets a number, right?
oh my
I
god
assume that's how it works.
god they make so much money off that stuff. Oh my
Yes.
god.
And same for us too. Like if I were to go up to College Station for like professional development or conference or something, depending on where it is, yeah, they've got to have my license plate number so that I don't get a ticket for parking, where I shouldn't
And
be.
she's in an A&M owned like vehicle. Like it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. No, I'm
Dang.
excited. I'm excited. I did not have great success with pepper germination this year. I'm not done. I'm not going to give up. I had some old seeds. Like a lot of feed
I had old
stores.
seeds too. I did the
They
same thing. I had so many seeds from like a year or two ago that they're starting to pop through. I know they take longer, but I'm also not confident because I've had them for a few years.
Dude, I was always the guy that I bought the seed organizer little thing that holds all my seeds in it, and I just dump them in there, write it down what it is, and throw away the package. So I'd mix old seeds with new seeds.
Oh,
I
no.
didn't, like people say there's not an expiration date for seeds. There 100% is like every year that they go, there are less and less germination rate. And so I went to a feed store a couple years ago, and I bought like they were going to throw the seeds out. It's like where you go buy them like a scoop at a time, out of a coffee can. And she had so many seeds, like you're gonna throw those away. And she goes, "Yeah, we're getting fresh ones in." I was like, "How much do you want for like all those coffee cans?" I paid like $20, for like
Wow.
a mountain of seeds. And
What?
I was like, "Oh, they were like serranos and jalapenos." I tried sowing them this year and
No luck.
No
nothing.
dice.
It's all about how you store them, though, too. Bikram was saying that he stored some peppers in a freezer for a long, long time, and I think he said they're like 7 or 8 years old, and they did really well. He said
Oh,
he said he had like a 75% germination rate, but peppers do take the
Huh.
longest.
yeah.
Yeah.
So here we were actually lucky. Some of the local box stores actually donate their
Yeah,
seeds. Like we had boxes and boxes and boxes that our local Walmart gave to us. I'm assuming because it has an expiration date maybe on the
yeah.
package, and for legal reasons, I guess they have to get rid of it. So that was kind of nice. We were able to share that with some local schools and different programs. So
Oh
that
Oh,
yeah.
was
good.
nice.
No, that's awesome. Uh, but yeah, I'll definitely be buying some peppers on Saturday. I'm excited, y'all. So y'all are gonna have tomatoes, peppers. I saw y'all are gonna have dill and some other herbs and stuff like that as well. So I'm
Yes.
excited to get some peppers and stuff like that this weekend.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're excited to see you now. Um, Destin, I can't remember if I told you this or not, but I don't know if you realize what a big, famous rock star you are, because I was at the Tomato Lovers Conference back in January when you spoke, and I tried and tried and tried to get up and introduce myself and talk to you. But Phil, this guy had 10 plus people waiting in line to talk to him and ask him
Oh,
questions.
yeah, man.
So well, one, I'm excited to meet you, here, whether, just even though it's online, but even more excited to see you on Saturday at the seedling sale.
Okay, I'll be honest. So at the tomato conference, I stayed the night in Brenham, and I had a good time the night before. Brenham's a really nice, fun town. Um, but but I was really nervous because we were supposed to get a really hard freeze like the next morning, and I hadn't sealed up my whole greenhouse. And so I got there that morning. Jay White was yelling at me already, and he told me to be there at 9, and I don't know, I was late, I guess, and so he bumped me, and then I get there and like my wife's texting me and she's like, "Hey, it's supposed to get down to like 18 tomorrow or something like this, or it's supposed to get really cold." And I
Oh
was like,
no.
"Crap!" And I had a bunch of stuff. I put off and put off putting the top of my greenhouse this year so bad because it Phil around here in this part of Texas, you maybe need a greenhouse for 2 months out of the year. Like
Oh yeah.
maybe 60 days. And the rest of the time, I take the top off, take the walls off, just because the winds, the hurricanes and stuff, like, and plastic is not cheap, So, like, if
Right.
I can save it every year and not have to buy new stuff, so yeah, I was in a rush, and so my plan was to stick around till after lunch, and so I wanted to stay longer, but I was in a rush, so
But
I'm sorry.
the real question, Destin, is did you have one of those fabulous Bloody Marys that they had at the Tomato Lovers Conference?
I did not.
They were so good.
I did not. If I'm being completely honest, anything with alcohol in it did not sound great that morning.
Oh.
I, I,
Uh-oh.
When you
I
mentioned like you had a lot of fun, I was like,
Yes.
oh,
had a good
nightlife
time.
seems good.
Oh man, I've got a whole I videoed. So I videoed from the time I left my house to the time I got home, and most of it is unusable. I cannot put it on the internet. That's most of the footage. I cannot use it. But no, I had a great time. I don't know what it is, and I'm sure there's people out there that have the same issues that I do. I had a heat stroke, probably 6 or 7 years ago.
Ooh.
Enough to where I was working in the plants. I had a heat stroke. It was probably like 100 and something heat index, and with bad humidity on the water. And so I got took to like the plant hospital, and they tried to put an IV in me, and I was so dehydrated that my veins had collapsed. And in like my dystopia, my stupor, I was like, they wanted to take me to the hospital, and I was like, no, I don't want to have to. I was broke at the time. I was like, I don't want to pay for the hospital, the ambulance ride, not knowing like, hey, dummy, they're gonna pay for this. Just go to the hospital. So I sat there and waited it out. But ever since then, it doesn't have to be like me working outside very long, but I get cramps really easily. Like I get like heat cramps really bad, and a lot of times when I'm doing these speaking engagements, my tongue will start cramping. So that morning at was one of those times where I had to stop myself and like work my tongue out because I'll actually get like it'll start in my neck, go to my tongue, and then down my legs, my back. It's so wild, and it doesn't have to be like
Oh,
a
that's
hot
no
day.
fun.
It can just be any time. So it stinks. But that was one of those mornings, and I'm sure I was a little dehydrated, so that didn't help. Uh,
Yeah.
but but yeah, that was one of those mornings. So, but I had a great time at the conference. It was really nice, and the Q&A was awesome. And Kevin Ong got me out of some jams because when I go to these engagements, I just have fun. And I want to make people want to get into gardening because I'm having fun, they're having fun, it's fun. And so when I go to these things, most of the time I try to keep it like a Q&A because that's just if you go up there with a PowerPoint and just run through it slide by slide by slide, it's boring. No one wants to be there. They think you're in school, so I don't want to do that. I want to get it interactive and get people involved, and that's the best way. Just throw out questions. Hey, what's going on? What are you growing right now? So
Yeah,
that was a
absolutely.
good time.
Well, I think we've got it planned. I think one of our master gardeners, I think, hopefully has reached out to you, and
Yes,
where you're actually set to come and speak at our general meeting, correct? In
I will be there. I
March.
got my dates. I started booking dates in
Oh,
October last year,
wow.
so I will be there March 15th at the Brazoria County Master Gardeners. And we're just gonna talk about spring gardening. And what's cool, I think y'all have y'all's fruit tree sale the next day.
Actually, that's the 15th. Actually, it's not a fruit tree sale. It's my tomato basil bash, which I
That's what.
would love to
Well,
share about as well.
yes.
Oh.
Before you do that, go ahead and tell me about that because I have our meetup, our first big meetup at Jorge's on the 16th. But tell me, I want to hear about the tomato bash.
Yeah, so the Tomato Basil Bash is happening March 16th. It's a Saturday. It'll be here at our AgriLife Extension office. I believe I've set it for 9 to 12. So we'll have a couple master gardeners speaking about basil, how to grow basil, how to propagate it, things like that, the history of basil. Got a couple master gardeners talking about just tomatoes 101. So, for your
That's
beginner
awesome.
gardeners, it's great information. And then virtually, we'll have Dr. Joe Masabny from AgriLife Extension. He's a research specialist in vegetables. He's done a lot of tomato research, and so he'll be speaking as well. And then I've got some really fun giveaways and door prizes from Nelson's Food and
Yep.
Medina Ag are both donating some really great door prizes. And then I'm stealing the idea from the Tomato Lovers Conference. We're going to have, Bloody Marys and some fun, tomato basil bites. I think we'll do like a margarita pizza bites and things like that. So it'll be a
Phil
good
might
time.
fly in for this.
Come on
Yeah,
down.
it's
Yeah,
tempting.
we'd love to have you. Yeah, and there is a small fee for it, but people can register for it on our county website, and we would love to have you. I still have some tickets available, so thought it's kind of actually I should give credit where credit is due. This was actually my husband's idea. He is a huge basil fan. And I know that I needed to teach about tomatoes, so he actually came up with this. So kudos to him. Hopefully it
Oh,
goes
Kudos
over
to
well.
him.
Yeah,
yeah. Basil is something so cool that people can grow, and it's so low maintenance.
So low maintenance.
A lot of the Thai basil. I do a lot of work with Vigo Gardens, the metal raised bed company, and they had like 2 or 3 different beds with different varieties of like heat tolerant basil, and it was blooming and flowering, and the bees and the butterflies were going crazy. And you can still harvest it for like pesto or whatever, and it's probably tastes a little more bitter out in the full heat. But I think those Thai varieties are actually okay out. But yeah, just as a pollinator plant alone, I mean, it does really well, like for the bees and everything. I've been focusing. I'm going to focus a lot on pollinators, native pollinators as well this year, to get the native people off my butt. They're always on me, dude. I posted a picture. I don't know if it was today or yesterday. It was my big raised bed with the vitex tree in the middle and my squash on the side. And someone's comment. I had several comments that go, "Is that a vitex?" And I was like, not even responded. Phil, a vitex. It's not invasive here in the Houston area, but it has become a noxious weed, like in the hill country, and so
Oh,
people come at me for the vitex. Yeah,
be careful.
yeah. So anytime I post it, just don't respond. Stay out of the comment section.
don't feed the animals.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on for an hour. I mean, I really appreciate Kimberly. I'm going to meet you. Are you going to be there on Saturday?
Yes, I will
Okay,
be there. We can
awesome.
finally meet in person.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I was swamped at that.
You
To be
were
fair, I was
busy,
swamped at the tomato
rock
conference.
star. Handing out stickers and signing
Well,
autographs, all that good
and
stuff.
I've got a fresh order of stickers that came in to begin tomorrow, so I will have plenty to
Perfect.
hand out there. And I'll bring my camera and everything. We'll vlog the whole thing as well.
Perfect. Love it.
Phil, let everybody know where they can find you. Let them know about what cuttings you got available and all that stuff. What you got going on?
You guys, I only have a few cuttings left on philsfigs.com, but you guys can reach me at all the social medias, and you can reach me at philsfigs.com. No, I'm not on TikTok yet. I need to get on it. And then stay tuned, Phil's Fig Fridays. I try to get that out on Saturday morning so I can film on Friday. And we cover all the aspects of growing a fig tree in your yard.
Dude, if you're gonna call it Phil's Fig Friday, you got to film it on Thursday and post it on Friday. Okay,
Maybe.
I think you can't call it Phil's Fig Friday and post it Saturday morning. It's not how it works, dude. It's
At
oh my
Phil's
goodness.
Figs, we accept Fridays on Saturdays sometimes.
Yeah, You're in a different time zone. They don't know. And you got merch. You got merch available now too, right? Shirts and everything.
I do. I
Available?
got shirts on there. I spent a lot of time with those shirts, and I'm really stoked on how they came out. So go and grab some swag. I do have a white one, but all the gardeners prefer the darker ones, so you don't get dirt stains. I take them as badges of honor. So if you have a white shirt, go ahead and put some dirt stains on there.
Absolutely.
If I wear a light colored shirt, all the stains are right here on my belly, so it's just right there. All right, Miss Kimberly, let everybody know where they can find you, and you just talked about some events coming up, but remind them about Saturday.
Yes, absolutely. So I've got Brazoria County Horticulture is on Instagram and Facebook. We've also got our county website. It's brazoria.agrilife.org. Lots of great information there as well. Veggie Seedling is happening this Saturday out at our demonstration gardens from 8 to noon. Get there early because they almost always sell out. And then shortly after that, March 9th is our plant sale. Destin, you come to that. I know that they've got some native plants there that you can
Yes.
you can purchase.
And that's actually the day after my birthday, so I can really do some damage.
There you go. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And then of course that tomato basil bash happening March 16th here at the AgriLife office. You can register for that online from our website. So
Absolutely. And anywhere in Texas, I always tell people, they ask me, hey, when do I plant this? When do I plant this? Where should what variety of this would you recommend? And I always tell them, go find your county on the AgriLife website. They have recommendations. They literally have calendars. It tells you when to plant this seed. They have lists of varieties of fruit trees that do well in this area. They will not lead you wrong. They work for you. These extension offices, they that's your money. It's it's half federal, half state.
yes.
But but you're paying for some of that, and so take advantage and use the resources that you have available. And those AgriLife people are great people. They're smart people, and they're very friendly usually. Except for Kevin kept saying he was grumpy. I don't get that. I kept saying he was a grumpy old man.
People can't be grumpy around you. That's why, Dustin.
Maybe so.
You just
I
bring
don't
out
know.
the positivity.